to hard surface. The other question I've got is around not just hybrids, but I understand there are intermediate products, the grid type products that you can put into the turf space to extend the life. Have you given some consideration to that?
You may be referring to products which stabilise the sand and don't extend up into the grass.
Sure.
However, the hybrids come down from $50 a square metre to $25, and it may come down to as little as 10 because there's not much to it, but it's very effective. We went to the presentation at Gribblehurst Park, which is due to open on the 10th of April. It's looking wonderful, and it's very effective and very hard wearing, but you can't see anything.
So is that the only trial to date?
There's one at Nixon Park, and I understand the Harbour at North Harbour Stadium has hybrid. It's also been used on the infield at Western Springs Stadium, where stock cars drive over it very effectively. Also in goalmouths and softball diamonds since 2014.
Okay, thank you.
And officers have about 20 hybrid fields penciled in. Not confirmed, but penciled, yeah.
Okay, councillors, thank you. I think those are some good questions. Just to let you know, we too, from here, we obviously will be doing, as we're doing with our community facilities network plan, we need to look at our whole plan for our playing fields as we go into the long-term financial plan. And I would very much like that we interrogated your figures and a chance to follow these up with you. And I think Councillor Simpson may well be texting our manager as we speak to say would be good to get a reply to that email.
If I could just add one point.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, we've been dealing with officers on this for 3 or 4 years, and one of the great frustrations is the lack of qualifications in statistics so that they can understand what we're saying.
And I don't want us to go into that because we
have
a lot of faith in the staff who work for us. Sometimes it's a matter of taking the right discussion to the right group of staff, and REMU might be a good place to get that involved.
That was what I was going to say. REMU would be wonderful to have involved.
Indeed. Okay. Right, final comment, Councillor Clow.
Yeah, I'd like you to provide to the council your justification for saying 1.2 training hours is an overestimation, because even if using a half field, I'd suggest if there's a game on Saturday it's 90 minutes and they train for 2 hours on Tuesday and 2 hours on Thursday, that's more than 1.8, and even if you reduce it to half a field it's pretty close to 1.8.
I can provide that to you, Councillor Clow, and I'm pretty sure you'll find that it's closer to 1.5 probably than 1.8. If you train for 4 hours on half a field, that's 2 hours.
We can disappear down an awful lot of detail here. I think if you make that information available, that would be good. Can I move that Mr. Angus DeLange, apologies for the inappropriate pronunciation of your name, and Will Mackenzie, Friends of Folds Park, be thanked for the presentation. Seconded by Councillor Clow. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Yes, carried. Thank you very much.
So I've forgotten one point, Madam Chair, if I may. I have a copy of Professor Trigg's evidence. If I could hand it up to Ms. White and for distribution. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Now we've got, I'm now paranoid about pronouncing people's names inappropriately. So I'll say we've got the River Group. Berthina Brosma.
Is this the right place to sit here?
That would be lovely, thank you. So around 5 minutes for the presentation and then questions. So warm welcome.
Thank you, Jenny. Starting a PowerPoint presentation there. Kia ora, respected members of Auckland Council. My name is Bertine Bruinsma. I'm from Dutch descent. The Rhine is my river. As a young person, I could see that the natural environment was under threat, which prompted me to study environmental sciences, achieve a bachelor's degree with honours. Since 1998, I've lived in Glendowie, Tamaki. It is a peaceful place. I got to know many people in my area, and Glen Innes, an up-and-coming area. Let us first focus on the Waimaru, or Omaru stream for short, that runs through Glen Innes Central. For many years there has been concern about the state of the stream central to Glenin's identity. The stream was a stream that everybody could swim in on hot summer days, a stream where people could find kai. The stream has not had enough attention for many years now, with the pumping station not working properly, resulting in overflow and chemically polluted sediment that lies there, making the situation worse. It results in stagnation of the water flow. That has brought to life the river talks run by Maid Ave. Contributions to the mahi to heal the river come from people all over, even indigenous people from Brazil. The area is also the concern of the Tamaki Estuary Protection Society. Recently, council, what might be in the sediment? Recently, council has reverted to spraying with glyphosate Auckland-wide, originally called Roundup and produced by the Monsanto concern in combination with the other products. Monsanto's advertising had presented it as biodegradable and is leaving the soil clean after use. But in 2007, Monsanto was convicted in Europe of false advertising on the basis that glyphosate, Roundup's main component, is classed as dangerous for the environment and toxic for aquatic organisms by the European Union. That's not all. Glyphosate spray fosters the growth of glyphosate-resistant weeds, which then take over. Then more spray is needed, and so comes a vicious cycle. In warmer climates, plants grow faster, which necessitates more spray. It can persist for a long time in the soil. Leaching can occur after high rainfall after application. It can also cause erosion, compounded by plant life being removed. This is currently a big issue for Auckland. Used in urban settings and long highways, up to 24% of glyphosate applied to hard surfaces can be run off by water and enter streams. There it is not broken down readily by water or sunlight. It breaks down, however, into AMPA, an artificial neurotransmitter and potential toxic that can damage nerve cells by excessive stimulation. With AMPA, the two can persist for a long time in sediment and will build up with regular application and be mobilized after rainfall. Treatments common in sewage treatments, such as setting infiltration, may not eliminate glyphosate. It's detected twice as frequently in urban streams downstream from wastewater treatment plants than upstream of those plants. Glyphosate can harm Pacific oysters and tide pearls and other amphibians. They are more affected by the toxic effects of pesticides because they often prefer to breed in shallow pools like the stagnant water along the sludge overflow along the mouth of the Omaru stream and in the Tamaki estuary. These can contain higher concentrations of pesticide compared to large water bodies. What needs to happen? The sediment needs to be removed and the flow improved at Elstree Avenue, especially since the population is intensifying. Water is a major part of all of our bodies and has very important emotional and spiritual qualities affecting all people of Auckland. Ko te awa, ko ao. I am the river is me. Is it safe? In March 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic in humans. The US Environmental Protection Agency recommends people avoid entering a field for 12 hours after it has been applied. It is approved by the New Zealand Environmental Protection Agency since 2015, headed by Mr. Alan Freeth, former CEO of PGC Watson, New Zealand's exclusive wholesaler of Roundup. For use on grass that people go and party on, eat on, exercise on, children and dogs roll on, bees feed from. I've heard a few heart-rending stories already of colonies of bees collapsing after exposure, a dog dying after lot was sprayed, children getting ill repeatedly. These things happened right here in Auckland, and I did not go look for them. Instead, people came up to me to tell their stories. All around the world, from Christchurch, the Mid-Americas, California and the US, Canada, Europe, Asia, there are many restrictions and prohibitions on glyphosate in place, with the main concern that it causes cancer. Specifically in the US, there are a number of pending court actions being taken by people who suspect they have been poisoned by glyphosate. Certainly, the governing body of Auckland would need to protect itself and its citizens by applying the precautionary principle and not exposing us to this chemical unless proven harmless. Currently, it is not tested in our drinking water either. Can it be done? In Holland, we've cleaned up our rivers and the North Sea with negotiations and various measures and regulations that had to be made internationally. It can be done. The same can be done here, and easier, as we're talking about a substantially more local problem, where the fixes can be made right here. There's a variety of ways to manage plant life that are more economic, safe and durable. The local iwi and Ora Restoration Action Project have a local expertise and experience with using and managing plant life, as vegetation filters and absorbs air, water, sun, and mitigates the very environment that we live in, that we are so carelessly destroying. Vegetation is important in managing climate problems. More unsettled weather, especially in spring and early summer, more floods and droughts. So that brings us to trees. Trees are an important link and factor in our environment and water cycle. It is a concern that there are many dying and dead trees along the roadsides in Auckland. The trees are struggling big time. Also, many trees have been removed from many gardens and sections and roadsides with a new housing project, and I have not seen a replanting happening. Our urban environment needs trees more now than ever, as they reduce noise, chemical pollution, give shelter and shade to those on the road, especially pedestrians and children, let alone the most important of them all, combat the climate crisis, the biggest challenge that we are facing as humanity. Especially now that housing density is growing, these matters need urgent attention. Council needs to govern here and look after the Auckland environment with an active program of tree monitoring and replacement of struggling and especially dead roadside trees with species better suited to current circumstances. I asked this be made a priority Auckland-wide. Perhaps community organisations would like to be involved in helping. Trees need time to grow, so they should go in this winter. More earth could be left open around them, which would help with rainwater management, which has to step up as well. There's a great video on YouTube, Harvest the Rain, to give you some inspiration. Let's look after and protect the tangata, the people, the awa, the river, and te whenua, the land. For we are tangata whenua, people of the land, and tamariki whenua, children of the land. This is my vision for an ecologically climate-safe, robust Auckland, for now and 7 generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, there may be a couple of questions, but just while people clarify their questions in their heads, just a couple of quick things. We're doing quite a lot of work with some of our urban forest organisations and our local boards on caring for urban trees, and the Mayor's got his project of 1 million trees for Auckland, which I think is going to be really transformative. So we are turning that big ship around and starting to get the trees back into the urban environment. And as far as the glyphosate issue goes, we've got a weed management and herbicide reduction working party that we will hopefully get up and running soon. And we certainly hear from our community the concerns about glyphosate, and we just need to look at some practical ways to deal with that. So, councillors, I see Councillor Watson. I don't want us to have the well-trodden and much discussed glyphosate issue, because we all know where we're going with that. So genuine questions. Thank you, Councillor Watson.
Let's not say anything about glyphosate, even though it was in the presentation. My question is to do with in particular the area around Glen Innes you're talking about, but also wider. I see a lot more people with chemical sensitivity, older people, younger people. Do you find that that's a characteristic of more recent times, that people with extreme reaction to these chemicals are more prevalent in our society?
There are certainly more chemicals, because since the 1950s there has been an explosion of chemicals which have not been tested at all for long-term use. 70 years is a very short time to find out what a chemical does, so there's been an explosion of millions of chemicals into our environment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Bettine, for your time and for coming today. Just wondering about what contact you've had with the local board, Bettine, because they were a sponsor of the River Talks and have good connections with Mad Ave and Ngāti Pawa. and we all know that Oamaru stream has a very low rating. So have you had any journey with the local board?
We've had contact with the local board. Nothing much has happened, and as the stream, you know, one stream, it's as many streams Auckland-wide that are affected, and so it's also Auckland-wide issue to look after water.
Would be happy to connect up Bertine with the local board again and just run through the specific initiatives that we have in relation to Oamaru.
And the neighbouring one too. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you, that's great. Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. My understanding is that one of the reasons, this is just one of the reasons why glyphosate is banned in many European countries is around contamination of groundwater. Are you aware of that?
The biggest concern is that it's carcinogenic and that it's, you know, fire water is unpredictable how it can spread. As I said, it stays in sediment and can be mobilized, and so then we don't know where it's going. So